Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into Michael Lewis's Who is Government? The Untold Story of Public Service. We've got a great review to work from here, and our mission is really to get past the usual political noise.
Right.
We want to understand, the folks inside public service, what makes them tick, what do they actually do, maybe challenge some common ideas about bureaucracy.
Exactly. Because, so much of the talk is about the politicians, the big policy fights.
Yeah.
And that's important, obviously.
Sure.
But this review points out how Lewis shifts the spotlight very intentionally, I think, to the career civil servants.
The people who are there long term.
Yeah, the ones who make a career out of it, often working behind the scenes.
Okay, let's unpack that shift a bit. Why focus on them instead of the elected officials? What new angle does that give us?
Well, it's fascinating because it really pulls back the curtain on how government actually works day to day.
Right.
These are the people with the deep expertise, the technical know-how. They're the ones implementing the policies, delivering the services we all count on.
So they provide the continuity.
Exactly. That continuity and sort of institutional memory, that's crucial, especially when administrations change, political winds shift.
Yeah.
It makes you think about where the real engine room is.
And the review suggests Lewis really gets into their motivations. It talks about a sense of purpose, not just, climbing the ladder or making bank.
Yeah, definitely not about personal gain primarily.
So what kinds of jobs are we talking about? And what does that purpose look like?
Well, the review mentions a pretty wide range. You've got people in national security, food safety, infrastructure. These are complex areas needing real specialized knowledge.
Okay.
And the purpose seems to come from, well, a genuine commitment to the public good. Wanting to make a difference, contribute to something bigger.
So they're choosing public service.
Right. Often choosing it over potentially more lucrative options in the private sector, it seems.
So that really pushes back against the stereotype, doesn't it? The sort of disinterested, maybe even lazy bureaucrat.
Absolutely. The review makes a point of countering that directly. It highlights the intellectual rigor, the specific expertise needed.
Like what?
Well, think about the science needed for food safety assessments or the engineering and regulatory knowledge for big infrastructure projects. These aren't just paper-pushing jobs.
Right.
They demand serious professionalism, ethical judgment, too.
And building on that, the review says these roles are demanding, not your average 9 to 5. What kind of pressures are they under?
From what the review indicates, yeah, definitely demanding. We're talking long hours, often dealing with incredibly complex issues.
And often without enough resources, I bet.
That's mentioned too, yeah. Limited resources. So they need really sharp, critical thinking, problem-solving skills just to navigate the regulations, let alone respond to, like, a crisis.
Can you give an example?
Well, think about someone in, say, emergency management or maybe public health during an outbreak. They're making high-stakes calls under intense pressure.
Decisions that affect real people.
Directly. Decisions affecting potentially millions of lives.
And the review stresses that the impact of their work is huge, but it often goes unseen. Why do you think that is? Why does this dedication fly under the radar so much?
That's a really good question.
Oh.
I mean, maybe it's because a lot of their success is invisible.
How so?
Well, they're often preventing problems, right? Maintaining systems. We only tend to notice when something breaks.
Like clean water or the power grid.
Exactly. The immense effort that goes into keeping those things reliable is just quiet, consistent, but it's easy to take for granted. And the review argues that quiet dedication is key to Lewis's story.
Okay, which sets up this contrast the review talks about, this gap between, the general public cynicism about government.
And the negativity.
And the reality Lewis apparently portrays of these really dedicated people. Why the disconnect and what happens because of that cynicism.
It really makes you think about the stories we tell ourselves about government, doesn't it? Lewis seems to be suggesting, through the reviewer's lens at least, that this widespread distrust is actually harmful.
Oh.
Well, it can erode morale, right? Make it harder to be effective if you're constantly told your work is pointless or inefficient.
It must be hard to stay motivated.
Exactly. And it probably makes it harder to attract talented people into public service in the first place.
Yeah, you can see how that would become a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right. Criticized constantly, maybe funding gets cut, people leave, service quality dips, which then just confirms the negative view.
Vicious cycle.
Totally. And the review suggests Lewis is trying to break that cycle by, showing the human side, fostering maybe a bit more appreciation for what these individuals actually contribute.
It makes you wonder if a more balanced view could actually help government function better.
That seems to be the implication, yeah.
And there's also a kind of warning folded in there too, isn't there, in the review? About the risks of, well, undervaluing and maybe underfunding public service.
Yes, that comes through.
What are those risks long term?
Well, if you connect the dots, neglecting this workforce, it's risky. The review points out the sheer amount of critical expertise, that institutional knowledge we talked about.
Yay.
If that gets eroded, if it's not supported or passed on, it could seriously weaken governance, weaken the delivery of those essential services we rely on.
Things like public health, environmental protection.
Absolutely. Those fields depend heavily on skilled, experienced professionals who've been doing the work for years. You can't just replace that overnight.
So Lewis is taking what could be, let's face it, a pretty dry subject government functions and making it engaging. How does he pull that off, according to the review?
It sounds like his storytelling skill is key. The review really emphasizes his ability to, humanize these people.
Make them relatable.
Yeah, portray their motivations, their struggles, with real empathy and insight. By focusing on their stories, their individual experiences.
It makes it less abstract.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It lets readers and us, talking about it now, connect with the work and its complexities in a way that just looking at org charts or policy documents never could.
It puts faces and stories to the term government. Reminds you it's made up of actual people.
Precisely. And the review frames the book as this powerful counter-narrative. It pushes back against the easy generalizations, the cynicism.
By highlighting what?
By highlighting the personal commitment, that sense of duty driving these folks. It's a reminder that public service, fundamentally, is about trying to serve the common good.
And it sounds like there's an implicit call to action in there, too, for us as citizens.
Yeah, I think so. The underlying message seems to be, we need to look past the partisan battles sometimes.
And see the professionals.
And see the essential work being done by these career professionals. Develop a more nuanced understanding of how complex governance really is and appreciate the dedication involved.
Recognizing their value is important for democracy itself, maybe?
That seems to be the argument. Supporting their work, valuing their expertise. It's crucial for a well-functioning democracy.
So if we boil it down, the core message is government isn't some, faceless machine.
Right.
It's a collection of individual people, driven by purpose, committed to serving citizens.
Exactly. The review wraps up by hitting that point hard, highlighting this often unseen world of public service, talking about the dedication, expertise, and quiet heroism of the people just doing their jobs every day.
Jobs that uphold good governance and, our national well-being.
That's the essence of it.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive on the review of Michael Lewis's Who is Government? It's pretty clear this book offers a really vital perspective.
Yeah, definitely seems important.
It shines a light, a much-needed one perhaps, on the dedicated individuals who are really the foundation of government operations, challenges those negative stereotypes, asks us to see the people behind the roles.
And I think the key insight, the takeaway, is that by understanding their motivations, their skills, the challenges they face, you get a much more informed view, and maybe, hopefully, a more appreciative view of just how essential government work is in our society.
Absolutely. And maybe here's something to chew on after this. Think about your day. The clean water from your tap, the roads you used, maybe just the basic sense of order and safety you experience.
Yeah.
Now think about all the professionals, most of whom you'll never meet, working tirelessly behind the scenes to make that possible. What does it really mean to acknowledge and maybe even support that often invisible workforce? It's fundamental, isn't it?
It really is. Food for thought.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.